and it could be virtual, and it could be physical. Whatever triggers the feeling of being there, of yourself being there, or someone being there together with you, is really what art can do. Yeah. So I will start with answering the first question. So what kind of collaboration we need today? So I'm wondering how we can collaborate when we can only see each other on the digital screen. I hope to start with a quote from Jack Burham, who wrote in System Aesthetics, who said that the priorities of the present age revolve around the problems of organizations. He also underscored that a system viewpoint is focused on the creation of stable, ongoing relationships between organic and non-organic systems, be these neighborhoods, industrial complexes, farms, transportation systems, information centers, recreation centers, or any of the other matrices of human activity. Another reference I thought about is from the Serpentine's recent report on future art ecosystems, and there is a line saying that advanced technologies are lively materials. They often enable works that are interactive and that may involve either by storing and processing audience interactions or through their own internal logic. I think that what Jack Burham raised about the issue of the stability and ongoingness, the organic and the inorganic, have been very, very of urgency today. And also when I talk about collaboration, I think the key here now is to identify not just the partners in the traditional sense, but also the active factors, the key active factors among those partners. So it could be within the institution, it could be like identifying the materials, if we call technology as materials, the key materials that is essential for the collaboration. So I think it's a more detailed version of collaboration. So not just like from top to bottom, say like we are establishing collaborations among institutions of companies, but also from bottom to up, or even like rhizomatic within the system, saying like what kind of active factors, elements can really work efficiently together within this overarching framework of the institutional collaborations. And also I really like what Jack Burham mentioned about is the neighborhoods. I think today, well, I'm not like saying neighborhoods in the geographical sense, but also when we imagine there is a map of technologies or like intellectual thoughts, we have to find our neighborhoods on this map. So on the map of contemporary thoughts, on the map of emerging technologies, we have to collaborate with our neighborhood in this sense. And the second question is, I'm just going to read it through. So everything is gradually changing to digital as it is turning into a form of untagged, which means accelerating the materiality of art. What would be a digital strategy to face this change? I think that art always, since the very, very beginning, always has an immaterial part embedded within art. And also information about art itself is seeking all possible forms and pathways of getting distributed, getting communicated nowadays. So I think that the discussion of immateriality had already started when, like, say, in the 1960s and 70s, when cybernetic theory and system theory came into sight, and also the artists who were working with telecommunication technologies, and also we all know the exhibition curated by Lyotard at the Centre Pompidou, which was a sort of a focused discussion of the immateriality of art. But I think that today, when we think about immateriality, we are mostly talking about showcasing, displaying, and discussing art online somehow. So we've seen a lot of examples of creating, for example, online virtual exhibitions, or uploading galleries, especially uploading images and text and videos of existing artworks. But I think this kind of practice is still operating within the concept of making the mirror of a doppelganger of the physical space. But I think maybe when we think about a strategy instead of a particular curatorial method, I think an interesting digital strategy will be for the investment and research in the conceptual and technological framework of online displays. So it could be open source models, it could be web-based like web building tools, but particularly based on the understanding of showcasing art online, and also more innovative ways to explore the data patterns of all kinds of art-related digital assets. It could be machine learning motivated. It could be even like transforming the viewing experiences via all sorts of tangible media interfaces, or all kinds of methods that can bridge the advancement of technology and a deep understanding of curating art online. And I think the key here is to think about a mechanism or a framework for people to access to operate on, and to invent their own ways of specific expressions based on this framework. So I'm really imagining a system or a tool that has APIs for curators to work with. And also another perspective is leading me back to a line by Mark Weiser, who talked about the most profound technologies are those that disappear. They weave themselves in the fabric of everyday life until they are indistinguishable from it. So I think that I really like the term he raised about, which is silent technology. So I think maybe a possible digital strategy is also hope to tackle the silent and the unseen part of our everyday digital life. So even the sort of psychological realm, psychological part of our encounter with the content on the screen or a smart device. So I think a digital strategy of curating online could also explore that hidden or the silent part of our current digital life. And the third point I really hope to make is the possibilities of an iteration. So I think a good digital strategy is just like a software. So the lifespan of a software is constantly being extended via each iteration of the coding, and also like the upgrade you see, notification you receive on your phone. So I think a good digital strategy should have the capabilities to work together with the flows of or the life patterns of technologies itself. But also we want to keep in mind that technology itself has life cycles, which means many things cannot last forever. Like online stuff also has conservation issues. So for example, according to the internet live stats, there were 1.7 billion websites online in 2016, and by 2020 the number has risen to 2 billion, but only 400 million websites are active, which means that we are inheriting a legacy of a lot of non-active and even non-accessible websites that existed before. So I think when we think about digital strategies, we also need to think about the lifespan of digital strategies, and also how we can work with technologies that will one day be obsolete and doesn't matter. So I think that's the thing we also need to think about. And the final question I'm gonna answer is the third one is about social distancing seems to be a physical vaccine and it will gradually accelerate personal experiences of individual by combining with the digital. So what are your thoughts on how the shape of art will change these kind of cases? I want to give 2 examples. So the first example is a piece created by Paul Salmon in 1992, which is called Telematic Dreaming. So in that work, he used say interactive video and audio line, and the experience of that work is when you lie down on the bed, you will see the projection of someone else emerging right next to you. So you are literally sleeping together with the projection of someone else. And another example is in 2020, Microsoft Shell Ice Team which I often collaborate with, they launched a new framework for people to create their virtual partners. And also you can teach the virtual partners what kind of articles you want him or her to read, and then they can, you know, like have conversation with you more intellectually and seems to be more like able to read your hearts. And I think, albeit the two examples are 28 years distant in time, which is almost of my age, but I think and also one from an artist and one from a technological company, but I think they do share in common one thing, is the sense of being there. And that is, say, like, no matter if it's a projected image or a phantom image even, or a line learned or generated by a machine learning algorithm, or any possible form of technologies, I think the underlying tone which art can find its pathway into is to navigate or to recreate the sense of presence, accompany, and empathy. And that's more like a hub, like a melting pot in a way of this kind of human feelings, and art can really deal with, but not technology might not be the best solution to deal with. So I think that I do agree that personal experiences are kind of distributed online and offline nowadays, and we can have our separate, quote-unquote separate emotional needs met with a virtual bot or whatever, the virtual partner. But I do think that there is this one thing, like no matter if it's from an artist or from a technology company or an engineer or whatever, I think the one thing here is being there. And it could be virtual, and it could be physical, whatever triggers the feeling of being there, of yourself being there or someone being there together with you, is really what art can do. Yeah.